Welcome, trippers, to another installment of Tripping Through Transformation. And today I'm going to need you guys to really focus up because our guest is none other than Chris Rubio. And if you're in the same boat that I was in last year and you don't have any idea who Chris Rubio is, well, we got to fix that because the guy's amazing. He is the founder and president of Rubio Long Snapping. He's the host of the Rubio Method podcast, as well as Decades, and he is a founder of the Patrick Manelli Award. So we'll talk to him about that. He says he's an acquired taste, but I'm sure, like myself, you're going to find he's just an awesome and amazing guy. So without further ado, here's Chris Rubio, and Balance, drop the beat.
Balance makes it sing.
Rubio, what's going on, my man?
Guy, what is up?
Not much, just enjoying the day. Listen, what'd you think about that intro?
I love it. I was actually hoping that Jenna didn't zoom to me too soon because I was starting to move into the beat a little bit. I'm actually a very solid dancer. My wife does not believe so, but I know I am, and I have got great rhythm. So I loved it.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me really happy to hear. In a bit, we're going to touch about your journey from your childhood to being a high school teacher to where you are now.
Okay.
My first question for you is this. At what point in your transition from, high school teacher to the Chris Rubio you are today, did it start to feel normal to have like a 39-year-old guy kind of editing and reshaping your head on Canva and then putting it online?
I don't know if that ever feels normal, or it's just one of those things that it kind of just happens. And, like one of my mottos in life is everything happens for a reason. And it just sort of happened, and I'm going with it. What am I going to do now? Okay.
Well, I mean, I kind of felt like maybe one of your school kids doing like a project on their teacher or something, but yeah, that's great. My next question for you is going to be this. I see you as somebody who's kind of achieved the American dream, and you went like I said, from high school teacher or junior high teacher to having your own business, to doing public speaking, to being a host on podcasts. If you were Justin Bieber famous, how would you handle the paparazzi?
Ooh, if I was Justin Bieber famous, that's another famous Canadian like yourself.
Oh, sorry about the Canadian, but yeah.
I love the Canadians. Your food is terrible, but I love the Canadians. They're very nice people. If I was Justin Bieber famous, I would embrace it. I mean, I would 100%. I'd be like posing for him. I'd be going out. I'd have to have some bodyguards and things like that, obviously, because I don't want people touching me and coming out, even though I'm a big hugger. It would be one of those things where I'd probably just live it up. I would not like the fact that I would have to get dressed up everywhere I went, because as you've seen me in this yellow sweater all the time, whether I'm in the Rubio Method, Decades, the Rundown with Rubio, whatever. I'm always in this yellow sweatshirt. If I'm on the field, I just have another yellow sweatshirt that just says Rubio Long Snapping on it. So getting dressed up and like fancy schmancy, that part would suck. I would not like that at all. But other taking pictures of me, you got to do what you got to do, make $1.
Really? Like even if you're at a restaurant or coming out of the bathroom and they're trying to snap your picture, like you don't find that annoying?
It's the price you pay. I mean, I live in a small town and I'm definitely not a celebrity at all, but my wife gets so mad when we'll be out sometimes and if someone say, "Hey, are you that guy?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And I mean, we were up at a bar in Harrison, Idaho, which is about 2 hours north of me. And I was sitting there and some lady comes up to me. This is a true story. She goes, "Hey, are you that guy from that podcast, The Rubio Method?" And I go, "Yeah." Like, how would you know that? She goes, I was just laughing. I was just showing my friend one of your clips. And I'm like, "Oh, cool. Which clip?" And she goes, "Well, it's the clip where you talked about you using a bidet." And I said, "Oh, that's wonderful. That's a great clip to have." And they're like, "Do you really have a bidet?" And I go, "Oh yeah, it's a game changer. You got to have one. They're phenomenal."
Oh, well, I'm happy that you support the bidet. I'm all for that too.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're kind of a little celebrity in your small town then.
No, I would just say people see me around, and they know what I do, and I travel, and they just like that storyline of it. Where I bring in a lot of people too here for lessons. I bring in probably about 90 long snappers a year coming in Lewiston for lessons with
Oh,
me, and so they kind of know, okay, if I go where like there's a restaurant called Waffles and More, they know if they get like a teenage looking kid with a mom or a dad with them that don't look like they're from Idaho, they'll say, "Oh, you're here to see Rubio." Yeah, okay.
everybody just stands out.
Yeah, they're 100% bigger, stronger kid, with mom or dad. Maybe they got a deep, dark tan because they're
Yeah.
coming in from Miami in January. And Lewiston, you're not having a deep, dark tan in Miami in January.
Yeah. Yeah. I had my own first encounter with somebody recognizing me from the podcast during one of my fitness classes I just attended. One of the ladies looked at me. She's like, I was on Facebook the other day just scrolling, and I was like, I recognize that face. I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, that's
I'm
phenomenal.
going to reach that Rubio status pretty soon now. Here comes the wiki page in the documentary for me. Speaking of Rubio, like Rubio, was that like Spanish, right?
Rubio actually, ironically, means blonde in Spanish.
Yeah, that was my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I have no idea how that works out. I'm not blonde. If I grew my hair out, I don't think it would be blonde. No, it definitely wouldn't. I mean, right here, we could say it's blonde, but it's not. It's white. She wants me to dye it. I can't dye it, right? No.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Guy.
You got to cash in your man card if you dye your beard, man.
Yeah, especially now that it's gone so long, not length, but just how long I've had it with the salt and pepper, as it will. Now it's more salt and pepper. Oh, you're that guy. Because everyone has that one friend or relative, which, like, if you did that, or I'd want someone to tell me, Rubio, you look like an ass. You can't do that. Like, I had an aunt who was like 85 years old, and she would dye her hair black. I was like, you're 85. Let's let it go. Everyone understands you're closer to death than you are life. And she wasn't real healthy. It's like, just let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would agree. Don't do it. But you're probably the only guy I know who probably spends more time shaving his head than his face. So.
Yeah, absolutely. My tip is use Costco. You have Costco in Canada?
Oh yeah, we have Costco. Yeah.
Okay, go to Costco and get conditioner. And I use that for my head and my face, so it leaves me silky smooth, and it's way cheaper than shaving cream.
Oh, I'll have to take your word on that. You don't break out into head pimples or anything like that?
Oh God, no. But I haven't. I said this on my show too. I haven't washed my face since like 1987. I never wash my face. I think it's a full conspiracy theory. Yeah. I never do. I mean, I let water run over it, but I never get like a bar of soap and do all this crap. I mean, I'm not a girl, so I don't have to wear makeup and stuff like that. But see, I just use water. I swear, and I've got good skin. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, well, you look really handsome, so I believe.
Well, thank you, Guy. So do you.
Trying to shed those compliments out there. All right, well, Rubio, when we come back, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more personal about your journey from your childhood to where you are at today.
Let it rain.
Yeah, but we'll take a quick break with a message from NGBN.
Attention, gentlemen of distinction. Introducing NGBN.TV. The television network designed exclusively for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Your go-to destination for entertainment that speaks to you, inspires you, and celebrates the incredible journey of manhood. And here's the exciting news. NGBN.TV is coming to Roku, Apple TV, Amazon, and your favorite mobile devices. Whether you're a sports enthusiast, seeking self-improvement, or just looking for a good laugh, NGBN.TV has got you covered. Entertainment, inspiration, brotherhood. Coming soon to Roku, Apple TV, Amazon, and mobile devices. NGBN.TV, where men thrive.
Welcome back, Trippers. And Rubio, I got to read this because I want to make sure I got this right here.
Okay.
So, my understanding is you went from a kid who played touch football to a kid who kind of renounced football altogether, right?
It's terrible.
Right. To joining a football team, to becoming a teacher, and then to becoming a long snapping coach or trainer, right?
Instructor. Yeah.
Right. So then you started your own business, and then you become a speaker and a podcast host, and you are the Chris Rubio that you are today. So that's kind of a big transformation from a kid who, who didn't even like football to, you're the main man for long snapping now, right?
Yeah, and I would say part of the transformation of that was me growing up and living in Los Angeles, California, to now I live in northern Idaho. I think that was almost more of a bigger jump and change than switching from football to I hate football to I'll play football to I coach football to I'm, you know, setting up awards with it. And I've had, basically 1,800 long snappers go to college in the NFL, and I can turn on any college game or NFL game and go, that's my guy. I train that guy, but moving up here, to me, that was more of a, use your word, transformation, where it was so different growing up in Los Angeles to growing up in Lewiston, Idaho, where I live now.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I don't know much about living in a big city or anything like that, but yeah, I've seen you looking out your backyard and it's just an open field. So I can imagine it's quite different.
Oh yeah. Well, the first day I moved up here, I remember I was sitting on my back deck having a drink, and it's looking out on the field where it's just, you can literally see 30 miles if you wanted to. You can see as far as your eyes can let you. And I was out there having a drink, and my wife comes out and she goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "Nothing." She goes, "Well, what are you looking at?" I go, "Nothing." She goes, "Well, what are you listening to?" And I go, "Nothing." And that's exactly the way I want it. Because where I grew up, there was literally, it's called the Metro Link. It's like a subway train, but it's above ground, and it goes by like every 15 minutes. We had an older home, and the windows are not double paned like they are here, just thin. And there's always sirens and ambulances and traffic and all that. And you go back now, or I go back now, and I can hear that damn train every 8 minutes. But back when I was growing up there, I never heard it. I mean, I remember visitors coming and saying, "What's with the train?" I go, What train are you talking about?" I'm like, "You can't hear that?" And like, "Oh, I guess I can't," because it just become natural. Now I go back and I hear a car going by. I'm like, "Oh my God, that's enough of this."
Right. Yeah. No, that's fair. I'm the opposite. See, I've always lived in small towns, and I need to add noise into my life because I don't like the quiet. So, yeah, with the binaural beats and stuff, right?
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess my question is, like, you becoming a long snapping trainer, that was kind of your friend who introduced you to that, right? He was a kicking trainer, is that right?
Yeah. When I was at UCLA, played football there back when they were really good. I was the long snapper, and the person you hang out with the most, if you're a long snapper, is either another long snapper or the kicker. So the kicker was named Chris Saylor, and he became good buddies of mine because my junior year, I basically destroyed my back, and I'd have to do all this extra therapy. I'd have to sit in the whirlpool or cold pool, whatever the hell it is, for like 45 minutes up to my neck before and after practice. Then I had to go get stem therapy for like 45 minutes. And he's a kicker, so he's not doing anything. So he would just hang out with me at practice. And then also when I was doing my therapy, because he had nothing better to do. So we became really, really good friends. And then after my career and his career, he started to do like arena football and all that good stuff. And then he started these kicking camps. And when he was doing these kicking camps, I was doing my teaching. So I was teaching 6th grade history. I loved it. It was just me telling stories. And then he finally contacts me, says, "Rubio," we still kept in contact, had dinners and all that stuff, and did the adult thing. And "Rubio, hey, I'm having a camp in Vegas. I want you to come be an instructor for it. Basically just babysit these 12 long snappers that I'm going to have. Just got to watch them, facilitate, make sure they don't get burnt or anything like that." "Okay, yeah, nah, I don't know, man. I'm pretty busy." He goes, "Come on, please. You can do it. You can do it." "Nah, I don't want to go." He goes, "I'll pay for your trip, hotel, and food." And I go, "I'm in." He had me at food. And I was like, let's do it. Cause it's like a 4-hour drive or a 30-minute flight from Los Angeles where I lived. And so I went out there, helped out these instructors or these long snappers. And he goes, "You should do this." And I go, "Do what?" And he goes, "Being a long snapping instructor." And I go, "Who the hell would pay for that?" I just learned how to do it in my backyard, just an upside down quarterback going the wrong way. He goes, "You got the personality. You obviously know what you're doing. You came from a big school and you work well with people. Why don't you try it?" And so I got one lesson that came up through him. Someone contacted him and said, you have a long snapping instructor?" "Oh, we actually do. Try this guy." One lesson from like once every 4 months to 2 lessons every 2 months to 3 lessons every month, to where he just grew and grew and grew and grew to where now I run roughly around 25 camps per year, and probably well over 1,000 long snappers per year.
Yeah, so that's kind of the point I was trying to get at is this isn't something that you've planned for your whole life or like that you were dreaming of doing since you were a little kid. This is kind of something that a friend mentioned and you went with it and you grew it into something that's huge now, right?
100%. If you would have told me, well, back in the day, you're going to be living in Idaho, number one, no. Number two, if you would have been a football coach, no. Number three, if you would have been a long snapping coach, I would have first said, what the hell's a long snapper? Because no one knows what a long snapper is, except for, anyone who's a punter or kicker, because they're the guy who gives you them the ball. Yeah, I would have said zero chance of that. I remember, when I was in third grade, I still remember this. I was in Mr. Nash's class. I was sitting next to a kid named Damian Bushnell, and Damian raised his hand and said, Mr. Nash, I have a question. Mr. Nash came over and answered this question that Damien had. And I remember thinking to myself, I could explain this better than Mr. Nash. And Mr. Nash was a good teacher. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to be a teacher. That's what I wanted to do. So from when I was 8 years old, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I went into becoming a teacher. I became a teacher. I loved it. And I would have been a teacher forever. I thought it was great. I mean, I was making real money. I think my first year, I made $32,000 a year. And I was like, holy Jesus, this is $1 million. So I can't believe it. I'm making a steady paycheck and I've got insurance. And I thought this is the adult life. This is what I'm doing. And then the long snapping thing just kind of came in. And I remember after 4 years of doing both teaching and long snapping, I remember sitting down with my friends and family and thinking to myself, okay, I can't keep up this pace. I can't keep doing long snapping and teaching because there's just not enough time in the day. I'm teaching from basically 7 to 4. Then I have to do long snapping and stuff after that. And then the weekends are always long snapping stuff. I need some balance. And thinking to myself and talking to these people and saying, I'm going to quit teaching to become a full-time long snapping coach. Now, as an adult, now looking back, I would have looked at that guy and said, what the hell are you thinking, dude? This is wild. There's no way you should do this. It's not going to work. But I guess I was young enough and dumb enough to do it and make it work. I mean, I worked my ass off to start it, but it got going and we're still rolling.
Yeah. And it's paying off because you're doing really well. But as you just said, like you said, you were dreaming of becoming a teacher since you were 8 years old. So was it a hard transition for you to give up your passion to follow another?
It was a little bit hard at first just because teaching is so structured that you have to do certain things to make it happen. And long snapping, when you own your own business, if you don't get your ass out of bed in the morning, well, then you don't make money. If you're not always grinding and pushing and going forward, well, that's fine. Someone else will. And that's the way I still think about myself with social media and doing podcasts and blogs and all that stuff. If I'm not doing it, someone else will. And I know that they can't be better than me because I just have that much confidence. So I'm just giving it to them. I'm lobbying it up for them to take. And I don't want to do that. So it was hard, but it was one of those things you just got to keep going.
Yeah. Speaking of things that are hard, if you don't mind me bringing this up, like you didn't have a close relationship with your dad, right? So I'm just wondering, was it hard for you as a boy to kind of, well, for one, to grow up without a father, but then also to lead other kids, seeing how you didn't have like that fatherly kind of guidance yourself growing up, right?
I grew up, my parents got divorced when I was 9 months old, and you could talk to me about anything. You know me, I don't care. Got divorced when I was 9 months old. So I was raised without a father. He would be around every Sunday. He would just come to visit for a while. And then he would have these waves of where he wouldn't too. So he would be around 4th and 5th grade, then 6th, 7th, and 8th, you wouldn't see him. So it was very bizarre. But I remember growing up like that and then thinking when I would go to my friend's house and see mom and dad come home from work, kiss each other on the cheek. Hey, honey, how was your day? Oh, it was great. Husband, how was yours? I always thought to myself, that's a little weird because it was so odd to me because I didn't grow up on that. I always grew up when you came home and there was your mom. Okay. Right. And then I had an uncle that was a father figure. I always had TV, but it was to me, it was just one of those things that another one of my mottos is there's winners and losers in life. I just lost. I didn't have a dad. What am I going to do about it? Pout? Or am I just going to pick myself up by the bootstraps and just let's move on? And, right. It's actually helped me become a better father. I have 3 boys, and it's one of those where it makes me a better father because I think to myself, I didn't have this, so I'm going to make sure I double down on this. I'm going to make sure I'm always there for them as much as I can when I'm not working or out of, traveling, things like that. So I'm going to make sure I'm better because I've seen the opposite. And it's one of those where I just don't want to be that. And so to me, it motivates me. But yeah, did parts of my childhood suck? Sure. Do I wish my dad was around right now where I could say, hey, Dad, what do you think? and he's alive. I know that. Oh, I think I know that. But it's one of those where we have no contact. I mean, when the last I spoke to him, this is a nice one you'll like. My wife and I found out she was pregnant, and so I contacted my dad and just gave him a text or a call and just said, "Hey, heads up, you're gonna have another grandkid. Would you like to meet him at some point?" No. Okay. Are you sure? You don't want, this is going to be 9 months out. You want to plan on this? No, don't. Just pretend, tell him that I'm dead. That way you don't have to explain anything. Oh, okay. As a matter of fact, why don't you just consider me dead as well, so we don't have to have a relationship? Okay.
Wow.
And it made me sad for a while, but it's one of those now. It's been so long that I don't ever even think about having a dad.
Yeah.
Until someone brings it up. But it doesn't make me sad anymore. It's just like there's winners and losers. I lose, but he loses too.
Yeah. I'm asking because for me, I'm kind of in the same boat where I didn't have a dad growing up. 5 years old, he kind of disappeared out of my life. And for me, at 39 now, like I've got 2 daughters, 16 and 17. And yes, I definitely, like you, I said, I don't want to be like my dad. I'm going to do better. But I still find myself lacking some tools or insights on how to deal with my own kids. Sometimes I'm like, holy fuck, like I don't know. I don't know how to handle this situation. And I look back thinking, I wonder if I had a dad in my life that would have been present to kind of guide me and teach me things, if I'd be better equipped to handle the situation now with my own children. So I know that you've got kids of your own, and I know that, you train kids and you've been a teacher. So I was just wondering if maybe you found yourself lacking tools when dealing with kids, or if you find that not having maybe a negative influence in your life actually gave you a leg up. Like if your dad's just a negative influence.
No, I would agree with you 1,000%. But parenting is one of those things that no one knows every answer. And I always think to myself, I'm not the first person to do this, and I'm not the last person. There's been a hell of a lot more parents out there that are dumber than I am that have raised successful kids, and everyone's different. You may raise your kids different than me, and I'm going to raise my kids different than you. I'm a little bit harsher than most, which I don't care. That's just the way it is. And it's one of those things that this is the way I would want to be raised. I raise them that way. I give them a long leash, but their leash is short as well. Explain one of my rules that all my boys is this: do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Just pretend that I'm standing right next to you. So if you still think you do it if I'm standing next to you, let it rain. Go ahead, do it. And my second rule is don't be a dick. That's it. Those are the only 2 rules in life you have for me: is do whatever you want as long as I'm standing right next to you. Would you do it? And don't be a dick. That's it. That's literally, I tell all my boys that. Their ages 22, 21, and 12. They all get the same rules.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start using that. I think that's great advice. But no, I appreciate, you talking about that a little bit, because I definitely think that our scenarios aren't unique. There's a lot of people like us out there that may not have grown up with a dad, and they might have questions, or maybe they feel like it's hopeless for them because, I didn't have the structure or the mentoring or whatever that I needed as a kid. So they're struggling now. And I see you. I mean, you grew up without a dad. You went through the motions, and you're a success story. So I want to put it out there that, for people to see it's possible. You might be dealt a crappy hand when you're a kid, but that's out of your control. Navigate through life and try to do the best and make the best of it. Right.
Yeah, you're never going to be a perfect parent. It's impossible.
So that being said, is there anything that you could give as advice to anybody who might be like us, who grew up without a dad, that might be struggling? Like,
another model I have is I always say 2 tears in a bucket, F it. Okay. And it's one of those where, yes, this happened. What are you going to do about it? There's nothing else you could do about it. I can't go back and transfer my life back to age 8 or 9 months old and tell my parents not to get divorced. Okay. I can't go back and go and say, oh God, I wish I had a dad. Yeah. I wish I had a dad. What am I going to do about it? Nothing. There's nothing I can do about it. He loses. I lose. Grandkids lose. Everyone kind of loses, but they also kind of win because they get a better dad, i.e. me, because I look at the negatives and make them a positive. I'm not exactly a super like a optimist, but I'm not a pessimist either. I'm just more of a realist and just, okay, this happened. What am I going to do about it? Nothing. And it gets me in trouble a lot. That's why like the last segment of my show, the Rubio method, is just the bottom line, where it's the bottom line. Here's what happens. And that's why I've spoken to you about it and other people. I can't stand ask holes, ASK holes, where people that ask questions and then you give them the only possible answers. And it's one of those, well, no, I don't like those. Well, that's literally the only two options you have. Okay. Like, what else are you going to do? And it's just, it's there, and you have to sometimes just suck it up. What are you going to do? Okay. You're getting old. You're getting old. You're going to die. No matter how healthy you are, we're all going to die. That's just the game of life. No one gets out a survivor. No one wins. Okay. You win in life by doing great things throughout your life. Okay. But at the end of the race, you're dead. It's just what happens. And my wife gets mad at me sometimes because, an old person dies. Like my grandmother, she was 98 years old. And my family said, okay, we need you to do one of the readings, not a eulogy, not the main one, but like a sub one. I said, okay. And you guys all know me, so I'm going to let it rain. And I started it with, people have asked me, Rubio, are you sad that, we called her, my grandmother, Maka, are you sad that Maka died? And I said, no, not really. She was 98. She ran the race. What the hell else did you expect her to do? For the love of God, she's been unhealthy for the last 5 years, pretty much bedridden for a year. Thank God she died. What she was done. Let her go off into the sunset, for the love of God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny way to end it, because I was going to say, I got to know you through NGBN's Surviving to Thriving, where to me, you kind of came off as the guy with confidence. Like, I saw you as a confidence coach initially. I thought that's what you did. I thought you brought on confidence. You help people with confidence. You're a speaker now. So when you do your talks, what do you cover? What do you talk about?
I like to talk about the principles of the Rubio method. I can pretty much break everything off of those. So you have everything happens for a reason, accept and embrace, winners and losers in life, working hard is not enough, and confidence is the key. I usually can break anything around those 5 pillars. And what I do is, when I'm giving a speech, I like to talk to the people that I'm speaking to first. What do they want me to talk about? So the last speech I gave was to the local district attorney's office, and had about 35 people there. It was smaller, but he wanted me to talk about working together as a team, coming together, working harder, working smarter. And I said, no problem. So created this little slideshow, little PowerPoint, and went off on it. And they loved it. It was 30 minutes. And everything can fall into those 5 categories in my mind. Everything that I do, everything that I live, every way that I'm going falls into those 5. I just have to show you how to make them happen. And so that's one of the main things that I like to talk about. And it's fun. And I've got a lot of great anecdotes that I can bring up through every single one, because I've lived them. I can go through every single one and say, hey, working hard is not enough. Yeah, I was playing great my junior year and I blew out my back. So I'm not going to the NFL. Too bad. What are you going to do?
Yeah. So you've got principles that you can really apply to your life. And it sounds like you kind of have
my life.
Yeah, you have your template, and then people tell you, I want you to talk about this, and then you make that fit your principles, and then you give the talk.
Yeah, 100%. I did a speech last March for the Lookout Corporation in Orlando, and it was basically to about 400 new sales reps, and they wanted me to talk about niche marketing and how to get them to use social media and how to get who they are to be coming out. Where okay, Rubio is the more boisterous, over the top guy. Guy is the more subtle, smooth talker. Okay, how do we make Guy be more Guy and Rubio be more Rubio, so they stay in their own lanes and dominate that lane? I'm not going into Guy's lane. I can't be the smooth talking Frenchman or Canadian. I can't do that. I tried. I can't do the language. It's beyond me. I don't have the smooth accent like you. Okay, but that's okay. I'm going to let Guy stay in his lane and crush his lane. Rubio is going to stay in Rubio's lane, and he's going to dominate the hell out of that lane.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to touch on. So we talked about, you train people to do long snapping, but one of the things that also really drew me to you is your contribution to helping kids get into, college, university, or whatever, through helping them get scholarships. Now, I don't know how that process works, so I don't want to put it out there, but my understanding is, you train them to be good enough to make a team, and because of that, they get scholarships to attend university, right?
Yeah, so these kids come to my camp, so they come up for lessons, and I teach them how to become the best long snapper they can be. So those that don't know what a long snapper is, it's basically the guy who snaps the ball to the punter or holder on field goals, PATs, or punts. That's all they do. So an average long snapper in a game will get maybe 5 punts and maybe 5 PATs on average. So you can play between 10 and 15 plays a game. That's it. And it's one of those where I train them how to do it. Then I also help them out with social media. Like, okay, here's how to act on social media. Here's how you're going to act when you speak to a coach. Because so much of it now is, if we're hiring 3 people, which kid am I going to hire the best? If say they're all three are the same talent, I'm going to go for the kid who has the best personality. And I'm going to explain to these kids what the coaches are looking for. You know, how do you handle yourself when you're around coaches? How do you handle yourself around adults? Because a lot of these kids, they're, you know, scroll zombies on their phones, so they're not used to speaking. But if I can teach a kid how to speak to a coach and, you know, properly, it's one of those where they can really up their wager, basically their what's the word I'm looking for? Their wealth, their value. That's the word I'm looking for. And then coaches contact me. I rank all these kids on RubioLongSnapping.com, and the coaches go through the rankings and just, okay, I like this kid. I like this kid. I like this kid. Why do you have this kid ranked here? And but I think he's higher. Well, the kid's kind of an idiot. Okay. Or his personality is not that great, or he doesn't move that well, or his body's really soft, or he's not aggressive, or his spiral's really not that tight, or he's not as big as you think he is, you know? And so that, I mean, I just spoke to a coach today on the phone. He's like, I need a snapper. Tell me who's the best one. Why? And I explained to him.
Sounds like you're the authority when it comes to long snapping. Like,
that's what they tell me. That's what they tell me.
And you make the cut. You don't make the cut. Shoot, what was I going to? Oh, yeah. So with getting these kids through school, you said you've helped like 1,800 kids.
Yeah.
Get into college. So that's over like what, 10 years or so?
It's 18 years. 18 years.
18 years you've been doing this. So
yeah,
about
so
100 kids
the first
a year.
Yeah, about 100 per year, but the first couple years were like 2, 3, 5.
I mean, that's still,
and then after like,
that's still amazing.
Yeah, it became really, really, in 2006, I think I started in 2002. In 2006 is when it really started to hit, because I had a long snapper named Christian Yount. And at our big Vegas camp, he was there, and I'd been training him for a while. Great kid. You could tell him, hey, Christian, I need you to run through a wall and you'll become a better snapper. And he would have done it. And this was back when coaches were allowed to come to our Vegas event. So we'd have 80 coaches at this, what's it called? I was reading a question from Jenna. I was reading a question from Jenna. What's it called? So Christian was the best one out there. And he got offered a scholarship for long snapping, which was very rare, but he got it offered his junior year in high school. So he wasn't even a senior yet, and he got offered a scholarship. That was a big moment. And I think in 2012 was another big moment when I had a kid named Scott Daly, who plays for the Detroit Lions right now, where he had 2 scholarship offers, one to Northwestern and one to Notre Dame. And he wasn't the starter on his high school team, because his coach was one of those guys that only thought you should play seniors. And this kid was a junior. So that was a pretty big moment too of, wait, this kid doesn't even play and he's got 2 scholarships. Yep. So there you go. So that was good.
Jenna wants to know how you felt the first time one of the guys that you trained made it to the NFL. Like what?
Yeah. And I apologize for reading that, Jenna. It's a creature of habit.
Yeah. Good job, Rubio. I'm hosting this show.
Yeah, I know. No, I forgot. My host hat is off. No, it's pretty wild. It's weird though, because I get more nervous watching, I call them my kids that are out there in college or the NFL, because I know how hard they've trained and how hard I've trained them. When they get out there, I get more nervous than when I played. I mean, I played in front of 108,000 people at UCLA, Tennessee, Michigan, all those things, 8 million people watching on TV. And I didn't really get that nervous. But now I see these kids that I train and they're snapping in front of me at a game, or I'm watching them on TV, or even in the Super Bowl. I've had like 5 Super Bowl winners. That's where you're like, oh, good God, don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. It kind of makes you almost nauseous. So it's pretty cool. I mean, it's really wild when I, turn on literally any college game right now. It's like, yeah, train that guy. I've seen that butt, seen that butt. Or, you have these kids that are I call them kids that are in the NFL. And they're, snapping for the Super Bowl. It's wild.
Well, I hope that those kids that are making it to the Super Bowl are inviting you to the after party.
Not yet, but soon.
I guess my last question for you, seeing how we're touching football and NFL and whatnot, you're one of the founders of the Patrick Manelli Award. Did I say that correctly? Patrick
Manelli Award, but that is so perfect that you don't know how to pronounce that, because a long snapper, you never should know their name. And the fact that Patrick Manley played for the Bears for 16 years and is arguably the best long snapper in the history of the game, the fact that you don't know his name is perfect.
Well, I mean, I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot here, but I don't follow sports all that much altogether. So
that's fine.
I probably couldn't even name you. Like Tom Brady is probably the only football player I can name. But so how did that come about? Like you being one of the founders? Because this is an NFL award?
Huh?
This is an award issued like by the NFL.
No. This is for top. It's like the Heisman Trophy is the top high school, or excuse me, college athlete. And so you have this, you have the Luke Rosa Award for like the place kicker, the Ray Guy Award for the punter. There's the Doak Walker Award for wide receiver. There's a Butkus Award for like the linebackers. And so they have all these awards for all these positions, and that they don't have one for a long snapper. And it just pissed me off, because how do you have an award for a kicker and a punter, but not the guy who delivers them the football? Without the long snapper, they literally cannot do their job. So it gets me fired up right now talking about it. And so I talked to Kevin Gold. Kevin Gold is an agent for long snappers. He runs longsnap.com. And I called him. I said, enough's enough. We're doing this. We got to figure this out. We got to create an award. And he says, okay, let's talk. Let's do it. What are we going to do? I said, who do we name it after? We got to figure out someone. And we bounced a couple names, and we landed on Patrick Manley. He's got a great personality. He's a hell of a guy. He graduated college the same year I did. He went to Duke. I was at UCLA. He ended up playing he was like one of the first long snapper, maybe the first long snapper drafted just to be a long snapper by an NFL team, the Bears. Played for 16 years. So I contacted him and I said, hey man, you don't know who I am. We've crossed circles. He goes, oh, I know who you are, Rubio. I know you are. And I was like, oh Jesus, okay, this is kind of crazy. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame, and he knows who I am. This is wild. And I said, we're creating an award. I don't know ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're going to name it after you. You in or out. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? I got Kevin Gold with me on this. We're doing it. You in or out? And he's like, first of all, let's calm down. He goes, give me 24 hours. I got to think about this. Are we going to really do it the right way? He calls me back less than 24 hours. He goes, let's do it. And I go, hell yeah, let's do it. And so we started working around. We got it. Basically, it's promoted, sponsored by Bernie's Book Bank out in Chicago. They do a phenomenal job giving books out to underprivileged youth. I would highly recommend checking out their website, Bernie's Bookbank.org, I think it is. It's absolutely phenomenal what they do. And this is our 5th year doing it. We have a big banquet. We get it all dressed up. I do not wear yellow. I actually wear like a suit and tie. It's unbelievable.
Suit?
I have one. So it's my funeral / wedding / Manley Award banquet suit. And it's going strong. So yeah, and this next year this is our 5th year. Now we can get nominated for like the Home Depot Awards, which are like the big ones that you see on New York City and all that good stuff.
Nice. So this is for the high school kids.
This is for college kids. So the top college long snapper.
So who presents the awards at the end of the year? Is that you or?
All 3 of us are up there. Patrick Manley, Kevin Gold, and myself. Jesus, yeah. And Jenna, yes, I do. I need a gold tie. Do they make gold ties? How much do ties cost? I got to find one.
I'm sure you could find one on Temu or something, right?
Yeah, Temu. AC taught me talk about that. Ties cost a lot. I'm out.
Well, I thought you were going to need a break to calm down after, telling me about how long snappers didn't have an award.
You get me fired up about that award all the time.
So anyways, we'll just take another quick break. Anyways, you calm down, catch your breath. We'll we'll hear a message from NGBN. And then when we come back, we'll wrap things up.
This is NGBN TV, a network for men and home to top experts, speakers, authors, and more. Streaming TV for men, created by men.
But why?
Why are we a network that inspires,
educates, entertains, celebrates, and supports
men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, simply to save men's lives?
There is an epidemic in our community,
and it's taking men from us.
I'm talking about mental health and suicide.
But we have an answer, and it's streaming, live shows, sports, concerts, and more.
In a real way for men to lock shields.
We can't wait to launch this TV network for you and with you.
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 Join our movement at ngbn.tv, coming January 2024.
All right, welcome back. Rubio, last time I had Ed on, I decided I was going to try a new method for my rapping thing. What are you smiling at?
Because Jenna put that commercial on just to piss me off / make me laugh. She knows how much I hate that commercial / love it, because Sub 60 Ed is so serious and he's locking shields, and we give him so much crap on decades about how he's just so stern. It's like, Jesus, Sub 60, learn to smile, man.
Yeah, he was telling me about that too. So yeah, I can tell that you guys are picking on him quite a bit.
Oh, it's
Well,
out
I
of
guess
love.
we got to get you on one of these commercials then, because you're gonna kill it.
Yeah, I think I'm on. Jenna just did that to piss me off.
Oh.
I'm on one of them.
But what I was gonna say is that last time Ed was on, I decided I was gonna try to kind of standardize the end of my show, where I'm gonna ask you, like, is there anything that you would like to put out into the world? Words of inspiration, motivation, encouragement, and words of advice. Anything that maybe that's near and dear to you that you'd like to share with people.
Well, let's see. Follow my 5 principles of the Rubio method. Winners and losers in life, accept and embrace. Everything happens for a reason. Working hard is not enough, and confidence is the key. That would be the things I always reflect back on those when times are getting tough, or when times are really getting tough. Always think to yourself, am I the first person to go through this? Probably not. Am I going to be the last person to go through this? Probably not. So you can do it. And also, I love this phrase too. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a tongue twister. It took me a minute to process, but I get
it took me a while.
My second thing is, and again, I was talking to Ed about this, because we never know who might come across what we put out into the world. And, we were talking about our NGBN journey and how we came across NGBN. So for you, is there anything that maybe you're struggling with either in your personal life or in your professional life, or anything that you would need advice or guidance with, that, maybe one of our listeners could reach out and help you with?
Let me see. No,
Could be
not
technical,
really.
like internet
No,
stuff.
just maybe a workout plan. I'd like a new workout plan. I do a lot of cardio as much as I can, but maybe a workout plan. Someone my age, or I don't want to do like heavy squats or deadlifts like Jenna does, when she's not killing bats in her kitchen. But I want to do stuff where, like, not where I don't want to bulk up, because I'm not exactly petite. So when I lift, I tend to get wider, and I don't want to do that. Like, I've been wide enough to where I have to turn to get into a door, and I don't want that. I'd like to look like a big, kind of like a Russian volleyball player or something like that. Like that kind of leanness. I'd like that. So
Okay.
that's what I would like.
I'm picturing the guy from Rocky right now. That's when you said Russian, lean. That's all.
Ivan Drago. Yeah. And by the way, he was like a neuroscience, biomedical, something really smart dude. And he went to Washington State University, which is like 30 miles north of me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew that he was like really highly educated. And
super. Going back real quick, not to cut you off, not to put my host hat on. One of the best things about the NGBN TV network is getting to meet different people. Like a year ago, would I have known who the hell Guy is? No. Would you have known who Rubio is? No. Would I have known who Sub 60 Ed is? No. Would I know a girl named Jenna that killed bats in her kitchen? No. Okay. It's one of those things where I like the fact, because I love to meet different people and I love to talk to different people. And that's why I like the show Decades too. I love to argue. I love that. It's like one of my favorite things. My wife hates it because I will just argue to argue. That's why I'm good friends with a judge. He next door, and I'm always arguing with him about stupid crap, just because I'm like, how do you think that? Why do you think that? Explain to me. But that's what I love the NGBN TV network because of that, where there's so much opportunity to meet people and learn different things from different people.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. I've definitely made a lot more connections, and now I've learned that Jenna kills bats in her kitchen.
Oh yeah, she's an assassin.
Never would have known that if I hadn't met you. So
she's a bat assassin.
All right. Well, Rubio, where can people find out more about you, about long snapping, about your podcast, all that stuff?
Yeah, for long snapping, just go to rubiolongsnapping.com. For my shows, go to therubiomethod.com, and of course ngbn.tv. And you can find me on all avenues of social media: TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. Twitter is my big one, or formerly known as Twitter. Now it's X. I'm on everything. YouTube, you name it, I'm on it.
Yeah, and same with me, trippers. You guys can find me on ngbn.tv, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, all that stuff. Rubio, thank you so much for coming on, man. You're always a ray of sunshine. I love it. You're always so positive. I don't even know how you can smile. I can't even do it.
It's just so I had to teach myself to smile more, because when I first started doing my long snapping stuff, I was real serious. I was focused. I was trying to train all these kids. And I realized that, and I noticed this as well with my teaching when I was teaching 6th graders, because they're like 11, 12 years old, that my resting face is angry. It just looks, because I'm not exactly, you got this look and just, and that looks angry. And so it looks mean. And I was like, I can't come off to these 11-year-olds. It's so mean. So I had to be like over the top with, okay, if I'm talking, I'm smiling, because this is so much more inviting than. So I had to make sure, because it's not, I don't want to come off as intimidating. I'm just this big fluffy guy. Happy. Let's enjoy life.
I think you could branch out into doing like smile coaching or something. Yeah, I could use some of that. All right. We're gonna get going here, Rubio. So thanks again for coming on.
Anytime, my main man, Guy.
All right. You guys make sure to watch Decades and the Rubio Method. Jenna, take us out.